A cafe conversation. It's a cafe conversation in the ladies' room. 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 A cafe conversation in the ladies' room.
Good evening and welcome back to the cafe. I'm your host, Sharice Sanders, and you are with Cafe Conversations. Today, we're still in celebration of Women's History Month, and I have two phenomenal women with us because they did something that I probably would not be bold enough to do. Okay, and we're going to talk to them today about their experience in the military. I am so excited to welcome new friends into the cafe. I am ecstatic to introduce to you retired Sergeant Major Claudette Williams, Mount Pocono Councilwoman, and CEO of the Women's Veterans Museum, and retired Captain Sonia Williams. Welcome to the cafe.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here, and I can't wait to hear your stories. I'm really interested to know, do women really do it better in the military than the guys? I'm just asking.
Of course.
I
yeah.
just-
You know,
I just put it out there. Just put it out there.
What
you know?
don't we do better?
Absolutely. So, in celebration, this month we've been trying to really highlight women who have made major strides for other women to be able to get into those spaces that we generally in the past were told we shouldn't be in, and it was difficult for us to get into. And the two of you have managed to get into those spaces, so I'm excited to hear your stories and have you share your stories about what it was like, what made you decide to go in, and then to stay there. I know you were there, you said 30 years?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're going to start with you just because you said 30 years. Tell us your story.
But we didn't just get in. We
Okay.
actually climbed the ranks.
Wow.
That is important because,
Okay.
I mean, you can get in and you can just get in and stay where you are.
Gotcha.
And that's from not doing what you need to do or taking the necessary steps that you need to climb.
Okay.
But we actually got in and climbed the rank. So, just for brief education,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a non-commissioned officer.
Okay.
And so in the military, you start from E1,
Mm-hmm.
and the highest rank of a non-commissioned officer is an E9. Okay,
Wow.
and an E9, someone who attained the ranks of an E9 is less than 1% of the armed force that actually attained that rank. So I'm proud to say
wow.
I am one of that 1%.
I know
Yes,
that's
she
right.
is. Yes, she is.
I'm also one of the 1,000 women of color in the Library of Congress in a book that was written by a sergeant major, command sergeant major. It's called Transferring the Ranks.
Wow.
So,
that's great.
yeah. So,
Congratulations.
so can you imagine being a woman of color attaining the rank of an E9?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I went through? I mean, it's like,
I could only imagine, but would you mind sharing some of that with us? Like what you really had to go through? Because I don't think people truly understand what it takes to get to where you were.
Yeah.
Or where you are, actually,
yes.
right?
Yeah. Well, see, I mean, because if you look at my ID card, it'll say my retirement date is 2029.
Oh.
Yes. So
Okay.
I have what, 9 more years before I'm completely saying I cannot be a recall. If there's something happened and need to be recalled back to service, I'm within that thing,
Oh, wow.
that time frame. But I'll share some briefly with you. So when I first went to Bahrain, where is my duty station,
Mm-hmm.
and I was in charge of my areas of command were like Afghanistan, Iraq, Oman, different areas that I were in charge of because of my rank.
Okay.
You have areas that you are responsible for. And so in the military, you go by a last name. So they knew that a Sergeant Major Williams was coming in, and the new Sergeant Major that was coming in. I mean, they, I guess, assume it was a man, but I show up and it's a woman and it's the black woman.
Right.
Okay. So, people, they did a meet and greet, and people, I meet a team that were there. And one soldier was an E7 gentleman. He wasn't there. So he found out who I am, knew I was a woman, knew I was a black woman. And so he came to my office the next day. Next day or 2 days later. And normally, when you enter the office of a sergeant major, you first have to knock. You then get permission to enter, and then you come in at parade rest.
Okay.
If you come into the office, then I'll say at ease, or you that means you or relax or invite you a seat. He walked in, did not knock because I keep that open door policy. Walk in, took a seat, and said, "Hey, Sergeant Major, how are you?"
Wow.
So I just look up at him, and I just look at him. I look back down, and I look at him again, and I said, "Maybe I'm mistaken, and maybe you are lost. So I am gonna give you the opportunity to
Do this
pretend
over
you're
again.
lost and to leave the office, and then if you do wish to see me, then you'll, return in the proper manner."
Gotcha.
And he looked at me like, so he did exactly what he needed to do, and then he entered the room. But because he figured it's a sergeant major woman, black woman, I'm gonna forget all the protocols. Okay, but I'm one of those individuals. It's on the spot correction. Oh, you will do right.
Right.
I've had soldiers stood up to me and say, "Who do you think you are?" I said, "I am the individual who will use this black pen and put a mark on your records. So what I'm going to ask you to do is step away."
Right.
Okay, but it's a lot of challenges, especially sometimes when you come face to face with someone who is in a reserve status, who is like a DA officer, or in the civilian world, they have their accolades, and they are coming, in front of you. They're bringing that same mentality, and they're looking at you as that woman, that little, and I always tell people, they said when they speak to me on the phone, I sound like I'm 6 feet tall. And then when they see me, I'm only 5'3".
And they
so
underestimate the power.
Yes.
Right.
But it has not been like an easy road, just accomplishing that rank. But you know what the guidelines are.
Yeah.
It's education, it's time of service. So I know in leadership positions. So I know what I need to do education-wise, the things that I need to get done in order to get to that next level. And the positions that you need that are leadership positions, that gets you to that next level. So I was always tracking my career, tracking when it was time for me. It's time and grade. You have to be in one rank for a certain amount of time before you can get to the next level. So that is your grade, and a certain amount of time. So it's time and grade get you to the next position, but also your education, your responsibility. So I always kept track of my record. If it's 24 months, I'm at the 24 months mark. I've gotten all the education I needed for the next level, and I would go before the board and continue to move forward. So I kind of control my career and pay attention to that. That got me to that level that I retired at.
I love it. I love it. I mean, I think it's absolutely necessary for us to advocate for ourselves, because people are not going to give it to you.
Exactly.
They're not going to give it to you. They're going to be like, "Hey, you did a great job. Let me promote you." No, it's not going to happen.
No.
Especially if there's other people vying for that position.
Yes.
Exactly. Exactly.
And living in a man's world, we do know already. There's already a, well, the man can do it better because he's stronger. And I would think that in the military, that would be the thinking.
Oh, yes.
Men are, physically stronger, so they would be better at your position than a woman. Did you find that they said you were too emotional, or did you ever think that you were too emotional, or have you ever had situations, or?
I was never told that I'm too emotional. I was never at that point
Okay.
because, when as a young soldier,
Uh,
I mean, I knew what I had to do,
okay.
and I went along. But as I gained rank and become a senior NCO, and senior non-commissioned officer, I knew what my position is, and I
Yes.
knew what I did to earn that position and how to get there. So I'm not going to take it, and you're not going to look at me and tell me I'm not emotional, and I'm not going to get emotional. I've had men, soldiers, who have stood in front of me, and I
Yeah.
have to say, just clean yourself up and then come on back.
Yeah.
Because I'm not. You.
I was like, do you need tissue? Okay. All right. Just asking.
But it's really, I never left myself open to be criticized as
Gotcha.
being emotional. I knew what my job is. I knew what my role is. My as a senior NCO and non-commissioned officer, my job is to take care of my soldiers.
Gotcha.
So I take care of my
Yes.
soldiers on the battlefield. I took care of their family off the battlefield. Because if
Mm-hmm.
I'm not taking care of their family and they're not doing that, then I can't get a good soldier on the
Absolutely.
battlefield. And I
Right.
need that soldier to have my back and to have the other soldiers' back.
Gotcha.
So we just have to make sure that we're in that position where we're leading, but we're not so tough or so hard that we can't understand some of
Right.
the issues that our soldiers are going through.
Going through.
And I remember in Afghanistan, I told a group of young soldiers, I said, I'm a mom.
Mm-hmm.
So when I'm talking to 20-year-old and 19-year-old, and I realize how emotional they get, I realize I'm a mom. And sometimes I have to put down that sergeant major rank and just be that mom
Yeah.
for a few
for a
minutes.
minute.
But they know exactly where I am and they understand, because sometimes they just want to have not that leadership,
Yeah.
all the time just at it with them. They want to have that parent kind of thing.
And they're missing home.
And they
I can
exactly.
imagine
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
you're away for months at a time. Sometimes years.
365 at least. We 495 boots on the ground, so from the time you get on that plane the wheels are up, 495 before you come back down. And I
Wow.
remember I did that with my twins. I have a set of twins,
Okay.
and when I left they were 7. When I came back they were 9. So
Ouch.
Wow.
yes, so
Ouch.
figure out as a female soldier the sacrifices
Yeah.
that you're made, because yeah, parents are parent, but when it comes to a mom, it's so much different. And you
Yeah.
have a boy and girl twin, and then you left, and you come back, and it's like 2 years later, and
You
you
miss
have
so much time.
so much time. You got to
Yeah.
reintegrate yourself into your family. And people don't think about those things. That when you get separated from your family, you coming back. Your family is not saying, "Oh, mom, welcome home."
Right.
They have continued their life without you.
Right.
So you now have to try to figure out, how do I fit into my family? How
Gotcha.
I become a part of my family again. And it's very, very hard.
I can imagine. What kind of mental health services are offered to you when you're away? If any,
Okay.
to help you go. Yeah, I mean, I would think that they would have maybe counselors or therapists or someone for you to talk to just to deal with the fact that you're being separated from your family and your children for that amount of time. That's really, I'm sure it's difficult to
Years
do.
ago, that wasn't.
That wasn't and that's
No.
why I'm looking at her.
It was like suck it up.
Suck it up, drive on.
Yeah.
Mission first. Now, if you decide that you
Wow.
want to kill yourself, then we're going to make sure that we get somebody to make sure that, hey, this person is suicidal. And then if they evaluate it and said, okay, no, they're okay, you're back on the field.
You're back on.
You're back in mission.
Yeah.
But now, as 9/11 happened and soldiers started coming back, and stateside, so many things started happening. Families were being torn apart. There was a lot of suicide. Families were getting hurt. Then they started to say, hey, wait a minute, there's an issue.
Yeah.
There's those PTSD issues, there's those separation issues, and they started paying attention to mental health.
Gotcha.
And so you now have to take the initiative to say, hey, listen, I need to make sure my family are in counseling, because they went through something too, that separation piece. You have to say, am I well enough to be able to be integrated into my family? What are your emotional issues? And so now there's more for veterans and their family now, but it took
In the
9/11 and it took all these things to happen before we start paying attention to soldiers and realizing that there was emotional, mental health issues are there.
Wow. That's a lot, and it's only probably been only like 10 minutes into the show, and, and I'm really thinking, I'm like, wow, I don't know if I could have done that. I don't know if I'm a crybaby, It's like,
Uh,
2 weeks without that, I got to be on the phone with the kids. Y'all all right? Y'all ate? The dogs go out, and everything. So to be able, I mean, do you have phone contact when you're away?
yeah.
Yeah.
You can. Okay. What made you decide to go? Why the military as opposed to?
So, to be totally honest, when you're young and think about back in the 1980s, they had these commercial, be all you can. Actually,
Yeah.
be all you can be wasn't out yet. It was like join the military and see the world.
You're right.
So I was thinking, oh wow, you get a chance to travel and you
Travel.
see the world. So that was, and then also there were those offers that helped to pay for college.
Yes.
So, I mean, I was raised by a single mom, so I know I was in college and I needed all the help I can get education wise. So,
Okay.
hey, I'm going to join the military. You get, funds towards school and, college, and then also you get a chance to travel and see the world. Well,
Okay.
that was a hype. Traveling and seeing the world was not a part of it. You're seeing wherever you work at, and then you'll probably travel to different places, but
Okay.
it's work on your downtime. If you allow, how they give you those
Yep.
leverage, you can go out to this place or that place, and it still limits.
Yes.
So that was how I end up joining the military. But then they
Wow.
made the mistake of, so you have ranks,
Yeah.
E1, E2.
Yeah.
So they gave me a little wing, and I became an E2. It's like, okay, that's fine. They gave me a 3, and I was like, oh, okay,
No,
3.
I'm not gonna stop here.
Yeah. And then they gave me a 4. And I was
Okay.
like, okay, all righty. So now with every rank comes the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so responsibility includes leadership.
Mm-hmm.
And so before it, I mean, it was like, I'm really into this. I'm into serving. I'm into making sure that the next generation of soldiers are well trained. I'm into the regulations. And so it became a part of you. Eventually, it's not about the traveling anymore. It's about you're really into it. There's a reason for this. It's your safety, it's security, it's your future, your children's future, and you're really serving your country. You're really playing a part,
Mm-hmm.
and then you identify yourself. I have identified myself as a servant leader.
Gotcha.
So that became, now what your purpose is.
Right.
But I'm going to share a story with you.
Okay.
And you're a crybaby, so I would say grab a tissue. But when you have to make certain decisions, and it's not always the right decisions. You don't think it's the right decision, or someone else might not think about the right decision, but you have to look at the greater good. So I am in 2004. I came home. I was overseas in 2003. I came home in 2004. And when I came home in 2004, my daughter was turning 16. My oldest daughter was turning 16. I wanted to be home for her birthday. And my twins were, my whole family was there. So I wanted to be home. So they gave us R&R. We were home for 2 weeks. And I made sure I came when she was a part of the Miss Junior Pennsylvania pageant. And I met her in Harrisburg. And I mean, it was just like so, she was so happy, because nobody knew I was coming.
Yeah.
But anyway, I spent my 2 weeks and it was time to go back. And so my family drove me to Philadelphia. I was going back to Kuwait, and from Kuwait, from wherever we go from there. And my family drove me to the airport in Philadelphia. And I just looked at my children and I didn't want to leave. So when I was at the turnstile and I'm going through, I heard, I hug and I kiss everyone. And then I turn around to walk towards the turnstile, and I heard a faint voice that says, "Mommy, Mommy." And I turn back around and I look at my family and I was like, okay, everybody's fine, but where's that sound coming from? So I turned back around and I heard it again saying, "Mommy, Mommy." So I look at my family again and I count, well, something is missing. So I look to the left of me and it was my son. My son was standing off to the side, and at this time he was 7, 8, and he was off to the side, and he gave me a four-finger wave, and I was finished. I stood there, and I had to make a mental and emotional decision. Do I go back home and be a mom to my children, or do I turn my back and walk and go back overseas? I have soldiers that are in the battlefield that's waiting on me. Do I go haywall? Missing. It became a decision right there that I had to make. Do I be a mom to my children and stay home, or do I go back overseas? And I had to communicate with myself and say, at the end of the day, it's for the better good. The freedom that I'm fighting for, or the things that I'm doing, is for my children's future.
Absolutely.
And so I turned away, and I turned my back on my children, and I walked through the turnstile, and I went back overseas. I was devastated.
Yeah.
It took a while for me to get over the fact that I left them standing there, looking, my son calling to me, remembering my 16-year-old daughter telling me, Mom, I want you to come home. I just need you. I don't want to talk to you on the phone. I need you here.
Yeah.
But I had to make those decisions. And in the end, I know that decision is for my country. It's for them. Whatever is to happen in the future is for freedom. So you have a reason why you're doing things. And even though it's emotional and it's hard, you have to stick to it, and you have to make some tough decisions. And one of those tough decisions was turning my back on my children and continue forward, and to spend almost another 200 days, 200 plus days away from my children before I see them again.
Yeah, I probably would have been on the plane. I can't. Oh gosh, I can't. No, yeah, I'm just a hot mess.
Yeah.
I'm a hot mess. So, Captain Sonia.
Hello.
First,
How are you?
first female helicopter pilot.
Oh no, not first female, but first African American female
First
for the
African
National Guard. Yes, on the
Okay.
East Coast.
Wow.
Yes.
Tell us about that experience.
Well, I had no intention of going to flight school. I mean, that never occurred to me when I joined.
Okay.
I was maybe 20, 21, and I was in college, and I took a 2-year electronic course, and I wanted a job. I needed a job. So I looked in the paper, and it said part-time job, good pay and good benefits. It said nothing about the National Guard. So I went, I spoke to the sergeant in charge, the recruiter, and he said a lot of good things. I liked it, and I decided I was joining.
Wow.
Well, you can imagine when I went home. My parents are from Jamaica. You know, I was born in England. I came to America at 17, and now I'm 21, looking to join the military.
Okay.
And the first thing she said was, "No, Sonia, don't go. Them kill black people. Don't go over there." Okay. But I joined,
Okay.
and because I had a little college, I went in. My rank was an E3, so I went in as an E3. I went to Fort Dix and did my basic training there. And excuse me, I hope we can say certain things because they whooped my butt. Okay.
I can imagine.
I had never ran, jumped, rolled like that ever in my whole entire life.
Talking about a workout.
We had to do 10 pull-ups before we could eat. Of course, if you couldn't do it, they made you just hang. You just you just hung, but you couldn't. Your feet couldn't touch the ground.
Wow.
And I was always pretty physical, you know, and I'm the type of person that I I like to excel. It doesn't matter if it's anything big or small, but whatever it is that I'm doing, I don't like to get left behind. I don't like fingers pointing at me that she's not pulling her weight, and maybe it's just my pride.
Gotcha.
But I, I did whatever it took. You know, my boots were always shone. My uniform was always pressed and looking good because I had a vision. I started to get a vision when I was in. A lot of people don't realize where the military can actually take you, what
Okay.
it can do for you.
Okay.
So I went in as an E3, and with rank comes privilege,
Okay.
more responsibility, as our friend has told you, but more privilege. I would get more privilege than an E1. And briefly, when I joined, they put me in the wrong barracks by mistake. Something happened to the paperwork. I think there must be 1 million Sonia Williams in this world because this Sonia Williams went down to a place that I would never ever want to be again. It was where women, they used what they call gaffs on their legs with spikes in it, and they called them pole climbers. Climbed the telephone poles to fix the wires. That's a job. That's a job in the, cause somebody has to do it.
Yeah.
The military is like its own world. Every job that needs doing has somebody there to do it, and you go to school for that job. And there are big names for somebody that climbed the pole. Okay, you had some big long name. It made it look lovely. But when you got there, you were actually a pole climber. So they mixed me up, and there I was. There I was in this place climbing a pole. After the first day or two, I was one of those, like those guys. Mom, you gotta get me out of here. Mommy, they got me climbing poles. I'm not supposed to. And she's on the other end saying, no, Sonny, I'm gonna get you out. So the two of us on the line. But once I got into where I was supposed to be, I found it was a completely different world. I was in the elite barracks, A11, and I did electronics because that's what I did in college. So I went there, I did electronics, and a completely different atmosphere. We were off on the weekends unless we had night duty, you know, guard duty. We were off. We didn't just get little hours off. During the day, once we had finished our schooling, yes, you had who had duty for 3 hours. Some, you know, somebody was always on guard duty. Maybe this one particular night is 4 hour shift. You had that shift. But when that shift was over, you were done. So we were spoiled individuals. Okay? And
Did you get to go out and party? And did you party? Oh, all right.
Yes.
All right now.
oh, what? You know,
Claudette was like, wait, that's a different experience.
It
I didn't have that
was.
one.
I was in Fort Gordon, Georgia, right? And it's in Augusta, Georgia.
Okay.
But because they called us the elite barracks. We were treated differently. Food was a little better. Our mess hall was nicer, you know, and we had privileges. We could have our car there. I had my car.
Wow.
And you know, we had privileges. And but as I said, with these privileges, with this rank, You had to maintain a certain standard.
Mhm.
You couldn't do what everybody else did.
Okay.
Your boots had to be sharp. You couldn't be like the regular, maybe somebody in that climb poles, which they can help with your boots got scuffed because you're a pole climber.
Gotcha.
You had to be elite. You had to be able to give orders. You had to know certain things that other people, other barracks didn't
Did
necessarily know.
Mm.
So with that privilege and rank came responsibility. And if you didn't live up to that responsibility, you were out.
Mm.
You not out the military, but somewhere where you did not want to
Wanna
be.
Tell us about your first helicopter flight. How did?
Well, I got from there when I came back home after the training. I was lucky enough to get a job
Okay.
at an airport facility
Mm-hmm.
in, I guess, Trenton,
Mhm.
the Army Aviation facility in Trenton.
Okay.
And I was still just an E3 or E4 by that time, working on helicopter radio equipment. My sergeant was a command sergeant major, Sergeant Major Harvey Pritchett.
Oh.
Short little black guy.
Oh,
Little,
okay.
little guy, right? He talked like this. You know, I don't know about sergeant majors. I don't know about you, but I find that they talk like this. All right, okay, girl. You know, and he taught me so much. And being a man of color and being a little man, they say big things coming small packages. Well, that was that guy.
Okay.
He had respect that people didn't talk down to him, or but what he did was, as our friend did, she established her respect, and that's what he
Right.
had to do
Right.
from the very beginning.
Mhm.
He had to let you know exactly who he was. And the respect that he got from colonels and generals,
Mhm.
it was astounding. And he said to me, he used to call me Sparks, because I was just all over the place. I'm happy. Okay. He said, Sparks, you need to go to OCS. We don't have many women in officer candidate school. Take
What
the
is
test.
OCS?
Officer candidate school as
Oh,
an
okay.
officer.
Candidate.
So I went and took the test. I
Mhm.
passed first time. And then what they do is they put you at an E6 rank. So now I'm a sergeant
Okay.
going to officer candidate school. You think basic training kicked my butt? Okay.
OCS.
Oh my gosh. They're lucky that I could. That I, they, when I tell you, they ran you. They would wake you up in the middle of the night, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning. If you have seen Officer and a Gentleman,
Mm-hmm.
they did not play. They would wake you up, come in banging stuff in the middle of the night. They made you run 5 to 10 miles down to the beach, and you'd say, hello, Mr. Fish. Hello, Mrs. Fish. And hello to all the little fishes. I mean, it was a mind game.
Yes.
Because
Wow.
as an officer, you're on the spot. You have to give orders. Your troops' lives are in your hands. They wanted to know how easily you can be shaken. They wanted to know if you are officer material. Can you lead troops? So it was a mind game.
Mm.
And once you got back to your bed at 3, 4 in the morning, you were up at 5 o'clock to go out to do PT.
Mm.
Okay? And after that, you went to class. And if they caught you drooling if they caught you sleeping and drooling on your paperwork, they made you go outside, run around the shed going like you're a plane.
Wow.
They made you lift your arms and keep running around the building. Okay? You were humiliated. Um, eh, because they wanted to know how strong you are. Can you take it? So after that, I went to my unit now. And I happened to be in an aviation unit. So I stayed in an aviation unit, and the colonel came to me and said one day, Sonia, how about you take the flight aptitude test? And everything for me was, okay, you know? And I took the flight aptitude test, and the first thing I told our friend, the first thing they said to me when I finished the test, I came out, they said to me, Sonia, don't worry about it. You can always take it again. You can take it as many times as you like. You can take it again in the next 3 months.
What's the flight aptitude test? What happens during that test?
It's a test. That test is for flying. You have a series of tests where you, simple test too. Where do you put the circle? Do you put it in the square or do you put it in the other circle?
Okay.
Just to see your aptitude.
Okay.
They had mechanical tests, you know, to show your mechanical skills. Because as a pilot, not only do you need to know how to fly, how to maneuver the aircraft, how to read a map from the air, you need to know mechanics.
Gotcha.
If you put that left pedal down, what happens to the helicopter when you're on the ground as versus the air? That's two different scenarios.
Understood. Okay.
You know?
Okay.
So a helicopter, if you push the pedals in the air, it does nothing. But while you're on the ground hovering, if you push that pedal, you start to yaw to the left, or you to the right. Yeah. Your rotors turn differently. So you have to have some type of mechanical aptitude.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
it was a series of tests. So I was surprised that when I came out, they thought that I had failed. Is that how you see me? Or is it because every one of you failed when you took it the first time, okay?
Right.
So I said, I believe I passed. You should.
Right. And it was the proverbial really.
Yeah, I passed. Okay. I passed. I passed officer school. And at that point, my parents, my family, who knew nothing about the military, I didn't have not one sibling, cousin, no one in my family had ever been in the military. They were so proud.
Yeah.
They were so proud. Once you learn about the military and your family learns about the military, pride is something that you feel. Proud to be an American. Proud to salute the flag because you know what it's supposed to mean.
Right.
You know. As a woman, as an African American in the United States, you know what that is supposed to mean. When you're in the military, and as I started out as an E3, you had black, white, Puerto Rican, everybody was there. the camaraderie was
Excellent.
excellent because you all down there. If
Yeah.
they said drop and give me 50, you all drop and
Everybody
give me
dropped and
50.
gave you 50.
Okay.
Right.
When they said roll on your belly, you all rolled
Rolled
on
it.
your belly.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Nobody was above anybody
Nobody
else.
was above anybody else, but there were certain aspects that was hard for me to follow. I had pretty short hair, and there's no Indian in my family. Okay, so I had that real African hair, you know, beautiful, thick, thick hair. But my hair was pretty short. There was a rule in the military that you couldn't have more than 2 braids when I went in. You could only have 2 braids.
Right.
That wasn't fair for us African
had
American
shorter
women
hair.
whose hair couldn't do 2 braids.
Right.
Right? What did I have? A mohawk? I had 2 braids and a mohawk. Okay? How crazy was I looking? Okay? All right?
Yeah.
I ended up having to cut my hair short,
Okay.
you know? And it wasn't something that I wanted to do. But it's something that nowadays,
It sticks with you.
yeah,
Yeah.
because it was something as an African American woman that wasn't right. That wasn't right. We should have been able to have our cornrows. We should have been able to have our hair in you know,
Or
in
your bantu knots.
yeah,
or-
so that it was comfortable for us.
Yes.
You know, I couldn't put my hair and twirl it. There was nothing to twirl. Okay, there was nothing twirling back there. Okay.
About how many women were with you when you were in the services? Like,
A lot because
Really?
you can't mix the platoon.
Yeah.
okay.
So it's a whole platoon of women.
Women.
Ah,
Oh yeah, the
Okay.
barracks aren't mixed. The platoon, even if it's a floor, you may have a male on a bottom floor or a mid floor, but and there is no male on the female floor unless he announced himself,
Right.
which our sergeant would come up and say, "Male on the floor." Okay, and you know, as a sergeant, he'll come on our floor or whatever.
Right.
No regular guy could come on our
on
floor.
the
No,
floor.
that's
Gotcha.
not happening. So from there, going into flight school, it was exciting. You had people, I'm going to talk about from all walks of life. And, you know, I don't know if I'd call myself lucky or unlucky, because at that point, my colonel and the rest of the officers came to me and said, Sonia, you know that you are going to be the very first African American woman pilot on the East Coast. I said, no, I did not know that. So now there's another weight on my back, okay?
Yeah.
You feel that on your shoulders. But I know me. I know I'm going to give it my all. Whatever the outcome,
Right.
I am going to try my best. And it didn't help to go to my class and have 3/4 of my class were from West Point. Okay? These are the elite soldiers.
Okay.
West Pointers,
Okay.
they're elite. You've heard of West Point? West Point Academy?
I've heard of West Point. I don't know exactly what West Point is or
It's West Point is an academy that
is it
not-
more
not-
upscale?
oh, yes, it is.
It's a
Okay.
Harvard, yeah.
it's like a Harvard, yeah.
Ah,
Not
gotcha.
any and anybody can. You need to have the right the right scores, the right attitude, the right.
Gotcha.
So
Gotcha.
3/4 of my class were from West Point.
That should have made you feel good.
Well, you know, what it did was made me work harder
Mm-hmm.
to compete, because I am a person that just came from East Orange, New Jersey, or Irvington, New Jersey. That's where we lived at the time.
Right.
I didn't have 4 years of running, push-ups, um, learning military. I was the National Guard. We are weekend warriors.
Gotcha.
I wasn't a full-time soldier.
Okay.
So now coming into this class after I've been at home all this time, those runs, they're lucky that they were. At first, I felt this water coming down. I thought it was blood. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
it was when you ran with West Pointers, you ran.
Wow.
They had me when I did my first PT test. I was in the low 200s. It's 100 points on each test.
Okay.
100 points on the push-ups, 100 points on the sit-ups, 100 points on the run when I was in. By the time I had gone, because it's the course is almost a year.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I was 3-4 months into it, I didn't do anything less than 297. The only thing I couldn't completely max out, I maybe got a 299, never a 300 with the run.
Right.
But I was up there. And what I found is, if you need help, if you needed help, once you tried, your classmates were there for you. If you were lazy, you were done.
Mm-hmm.
You got no help. You were given none. There was no quarter given. But if you tried, even if though you weren't that good in the beginning, you kept showing that you were striving to do better, there was always help for you. And I was lucky that way.
Yeah. you
But
had
as our friend said, our esteemed colleague, as you get more up the ranks, there came the obstacles. Because when I came back to my unit, I expected the same type of camaraderie amongst my peers, which would be the other officers. No way. I would put my name down to fly, they would scratch their name out.
a little bit of envy,
They,
a lot of competition.
yeah,
Become political.
Yeah.
yeah, they wouldn't fly with me.
Wow.
And they never said because I was an African American female, but I was a female,
Mm-hmm.
they wouldn't fly with me. And when I went to my platoon, yes, I was lucky to have African American sergeant, who is one of my best friends to this very day. To this
Awesome.
very, very day. And when I got into the unit, he had my back, but I made it plain who I was. You have to make a stand. You cannot be loud and belligerent. You have to be calm. You have to be precise. You have to let them know who you are, because I'm out at the aircraft. I'm getting ready to go for a flight.
Yeah.
And an officer came out and said, "I'm looking for Sonia Williams." Yes. When she comes, could you tell her that Major Wright is looking for her? I will indeed. Okay.
Wow.
I will indeed. You know, you have to stand up for yourself.
Yeah.
And even though sometimes the hurt is overwhelming, you can't show it.
Yeah.
Because that's what certain guys are looking for.
Okay.
you had some guys that were just wonderful men that would fly with you, show you around. And my flying skills had to be exceptional. When I flew a helicopter, they were like, "Whoa!"
I can
And
imagine.
even though inside I'm like a
Shaking.
jelly,
Well, I would've been-
I'm shaking.
I'm sure.
okay?
I would have been shaken. I'm afraid of heights.
Yeah,
So
wow.
that's, yeah,
You know?
I'm afraid of heights. So I don't know how you did it because they would have been like climbing the wall and I would have been like, seriously?
No,
like,
we flew with the doors off. In summer, we didn't even have the doors on the helicopter.
Yeah.
And we'd fly over Manhattan and we flew low too. We flew.
I'd have been hanging underneath,
Yeah.
holding on underneath the bottom
Yeah.
of the chair, one leg out the
And-
door.
and-
you know?
And when we went to the range, I could outshoot every single officer.
Now I could get with that.
Mm-hmm.
I could
I
get with
could,
that
because I had to make sure that I did what was needed. I excelled because you have to show them that you are better than they perceive.
Absolutely, absolutely.
You know?
Let's fast forward a little bit to today, because you said it was 30 years. And how long were you in for?
I was only in for 12 years.
Okay.
At that point, after year, I got cancer, and at that, if it was today, I would have been able to stay in.
Okay.
But at that point, being a helicopter pilot and having cancer, they didn't
Yeah.
mesh.
Gotcha.
They didn't mesh, and
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, and it took a toll on me for years. But as an officer, I got recognition as an officer, not just because I was the first African American female pilot.
Mm-hmm.
I was good to my platoon.
Gotcha.
My platoon would follow me to hell and back.
Yeah.
I made sure that they were well taken care of.
Mm-hmm.
If I had to cook out there, I did. We took our barbecue grill, into the woods.
Mm-hmm.
When I went out there, my group made sure that I had quarters to stay in. And let me tell you, you still have officers that will do you so wrong that sometimes it's hard to come back.
Yeah.
I had an experience when we were in the field. I was the only female officer, and they put me in the barracks with the sergeants. I didn't complain. I had my own room, but when it was time to clear out, my helicopter didn't leave until midday, and the convoy left at 6 in the morning. I was told I could stay in the room and just come down to the helipad at 11:30, 12.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bang on my door, and it was an officer in my unit.
I locked you in.
No, he was banging on my door,
Oh.
and it's a good thing I locked the door because he was trying to get in. He said, "Who's in there?" I said, "It's me. It's Lieutenant Williams." I was a lieutenant at that time, first lieutenant. And he said, "What are you doing in here?" He said, "Open this door." I said, "Sir, I cannot open the door." I said, "I'm not dressed." I was in the bed.
Right.
I was sleeping. I was just in bra and panties or whatever. I was in the bed. He said, "Open this door right now." And I said, I cannot open the door. So now I'm scrambling to put on my uniform.
Right.
He said, "Sergeant, give me the key." Luckily, it was a male sergeant. He was Caucasian. He would not give him he said, "No, sir, I cannot give you the key. I have to allow this female to get dressed." He bullied that man into giving him the key.
Wow.
Threatened him.
Wow.
By the time he came in, I just had my flight suit wrapped around my waist. I had whatever else I needed on. I didn't even have shoes and socks on. Do you know he made me drag my stuff outside?
Wow.
You know? You get some men that don't like women in the military.
That's every day in
and
Walmart.
they tried to break it.
That's every day in Walmart. Like seriously, like So I could imagine
Yeah.
in a situation like
Yeah.
that and like that because on a random day in a store or
Yep.
like I said in Walmart, it's
They
kind of
tried
like
to break your spirit.
yeah,
A general, it was only because my pilot was with me. We had a general that decided that he wanted a ride. The captain said, "Sure, we can give you a ride." He said, "Lieutenant Williams," he said, "strap the general in the back and read him the safety uh, precautions." I did that. And I got in the front. We went to where we had to go, gave him the ride, and he put in a report that I was disrespectful.
oh,
They tried to take my he put in the report that when I spoke to him, I was disrespectful. The pilot in charge said that didn't happen. He said I was there. And they said, but the general said, he said, I know what the general said. He said, I was there. I gave her the order to strap the general in and speak to him, tell him the safety precautions. She did that. She came around to the side, got in the helicopter with me, and we flew. We gave them the ride.
yeah.
He said that did not happen. And he was so shocked and appalled. And I was just happy
That somebody stood up
that
for
somebody
you.
stood up for me.
Absolutely. I could imagine. And then I could not imagine. It must be very hard to stand by and, well, first of all, in training before even getting up the ranks, to have someone, they'd probably throw me out. I'd get in dishonorable discharge because somebody screaming in my face
Yep.
is just like, okay, look, that's ultimate disrespectful, and you and I are going to step outside and have a conversation in a minute.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But you have to tell yourself that this is just for that moment.
Right.
Yes.
You have to.
There's a bigger
Yeah,
picture.
there's a bigger picture. Right.
You are
Bigger
not
picture.
going to give them the satisfaction because
Right.
that's what they want.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
to
what they're
break
looking
you.
for.
And you got to understand, they're taking you from the civilian world. So in that civilian, they want to make you a soldier.
Yes.
So there's those things you have to go through. Like I said before, your drill. I said this many times. A drill sergeant is the one person you dislike the most.
The most.
But
yes.
you will never forget that person, because that's the person who take you
That molded
as the
you.
person that walks off that street, mold you,
Yeah.
and create that soldier that you become.
Gotcha.
And eventually
You love them.
You love them.
When you after you finish that course, you love and respect that person because they made you. They put you on the path to becoming who you are
Gotcha.
today.
Gotcha.
And even though you come up against obstacles, the type of obstacles that I came up against, we all come up against that in everyday
Face
life.
situation.
It doesn't
Absolutely.
matter always the color of your skin.
Yeah.
There is always somebody that doesn't like you.
This is true.
And
This is true. Or want to be where you are.
Yes, that's just
Absolutely. I just want to take a few minutes, and I'd like for you to tell me a little bit about the Women's Veterans Museum.
Oh, okay. So, I think it was 2019. I was in 2019. Yeah, I was in Texas at the Sergeant Major reunion, and but it happened many times before. But this was the one time that it really hit home. So we were sitting in the hotel, and all sergeant majors from all over the entire country, every branch of service, we were having a reunion. They have that every 2 years. So we were a group of us were sitting at the bar in the hotel, and there were some men on the other side. And so they asked us what we were here for. We said we were here for a sergeant major reunion. And one gentleman looked at us and he goes, "Oh, so you all are the wives?"
Wow.
So
Chauvinistic.
yeah.
okay.
So
okay.
I mean, like, how I was like, "Excuse me." So because we're women, we couldn't be the sergeant majors. We are the
Right.
wives, and it just got to the point where that I've gone through military bases. I've gone out in civilian world and show my ID card, and they'll see it and they'll say, "Where did your husband serve?" So, but that one situation happened, and that was it. I came back home, and I was like, that's it. I am tired of 30 years in the military, attained the rank of a sergeant major, and I am still asked, like, am I the wives or
Yes.
where did your husband serve? So obviously, in society, women who served in the military gets no credit. So I decided to create the Women Veteran Museum to highlight all the women from the different branches of service, sharing history, teaching
Marvelous.
people about what women have done in the history and the mark that they have made.
Okay.
And so from the time I had that idea until the time we opened the museum, it took 5 months. And I always said the, the museum was created out of frustration.
Yes.
Oh.
And so because of that, it only took 5 months. Gather everything that I could, articles, uniforms, history, and decided to make sure that we started sharing
Bravo.
sharing
Bravo.
the history of women who serve. So
Wow.
even last month we shared the story about the triple eight, 6888, about the 800 black women in 1944 during World War II that they recruited and sent overseas to sort the mail because morale was getting low and the mails were being backed up. 800 black women.
Oh, I didn't
And
even
they
know that.
exactly,
Didn't know that.
exactly. And they got no recognition. I met one of them in 2019 when I was honored at the Women's Memorial in Arlington. I met one of them, but 800 black women, and they gave them 1 year to get all that mail sorted out and get it out to the men on the battlefield because morale is very important
Exactly.
to make sure you have good soldiers and they're going to be, making sure they do their mission,
Right.
perform their mission.
You have no idea what it feels like to get a letter when you're in the military.
It's,
It is gold.
Yes.
That letter is gold.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just 10 years ago that these women were recognized for their work. You know, the
Gotcha.
fly girls who were the ones that would flew the plane to the pilot, the men pilot. We have so many of them, over 35 of them got killed. And once they were finished and during World War II, they weren't mentioned, so they got no kind of accolades. You have Kathy Williams, who was the first in 1775, who had to disguise herself as a man
Yes.
to serve in the military.
Wow.
And they later found out. So women have been serving for such a long time, and it's such a contribution.
Yeah, very little
But
credit.
yeah, very little credit. So I was tired of my sacrifices, leaving my babies behind, losing that closeness that we had to still be considered the wives, or
And the lack of gratitude.
and
right.
Just the
And
lack of
respect. To
gratitude
me,
from the
gratitude
country that you're fighting
and
for.
respect.
You know, I mean, it's.
My goodness.
I mean, I could understand because I would probably be that one woman that would be like, hold up, brother man. Okay? I went and fought for you. Okay? While you were here having your Coors Light and your Doritos, I was out putting my life on the line so that you can be okay. So show me a little bit of respect. So I get that. If someone wanted to visit the museum, where's the museum located?
So the museum is in Mount Pocono. So it is the one and only woman veterans museum in this entire country.
Wow.
Can you believe that?
Yes.
There is a there's a museum on Fort Lee that caters to them, but this is the one and only in this entire country.
Very
And so the one in the state, so Pennsylvania here, we are lucky, as small as it is. So we just opened our door at our new location
Okay.
as 29 Sterling Road
Okay.
in Mount Pocono. And it's a bigger place than what we had before, and it's so much better. And so Thursday through Saturday, it's from 11 until 6 p.m.
Okay.
Sunday, 12 until 4. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, small groups. And we also help veterans that need help. Those veterans that need mental health issues, we make sure that we provide the resources, sending them to the VA. But not only do we take care of veterans, because a soldier cannot be a good soldier without the support of a family.
Gotcha.
So we make
Yes.
sure that it's also the support of families.
Okay.
And if the families need help dealing with the separation or integration or mental
Right.
health or that, so we also make sure that we have those resources for the
Wow.
families to make sure and point them in the right direction. So
Oh.
love what we're doing, and when
I love what you're doing. I'm gonna come visit. I can't wait.
and we
I
get
really
so
can't
excited
wait.
just to give you the tour and share the history
Absolutely.
of the different branches and the great women who have paved the way for even myself. So
That is
Yeah,
great.
and
That
it's
is
very
really,
empowering
really
for
good.
other women too, because sometimes we don't recognize how powerful we really are.
Mhm.
And I'm not talking about strength. I'm talking about being able to accomplish things that generally we wouldn't, or
Yes.
we're told that we
We're
couldn't.
told
You know,
that we
we
can't.
were told to stay in our place, and then our place was defined for us. So I thank you both for your service, and I thank you both for sharing your stories with us today. I'm hoping that there is a woman out there who, if you're interested in going into the military, you'd like to know more, please
Definitely.
reach out.
Yes.
Definitely.
You can reach out to us. Where could they find out about your services and everything? Is there a number they can call or a website?
The woman they could go to the Women Veterans Museum, or simple type in from boots to heels.
Ooh,
Yes.
I like
Ah,
that.
that sounds-
I like
sounds
that. From boots
wonderful.
to
From
heels.
boots to heels.
Oh.
Yes, and you'll get our Twitter page, you'll get our Instagram page,
Okay.
it brings you to our Facebook, because what we wanted to do was show how women can transition from those army boots into those heels that
That's
we
right.
without breaking a stride.
That's
Just
Absolutely.
continue
That's
to
right.
flow.
Absolutely.
And so and definitely, if you can't find me anywhere, put my name in, Claudette Williams, or even go into the Barrow and look. I would love to, and we would love to track any young woman who is thinking about joining the military.
Mhm.
We would like to track them from the reception station all the way through
Oh, that's
basic
great.
training
Wonderful.
to give them that support.
Yeah.
Madeline Albright, who passed away recently, said there is a place in hell for
Mhm.
every woman who's had a seat at the table and do not help those other women.
Yes.
Right.
So if someone is thinking about joining the military and they want someone to talk to, they want someone to help them as they go through that basic training, those
Yes.
Mhm.
training, we want to be on the outside. I have that access to be on a base. Listen, there's only two people in the military that wears a star. It's a general and a sergeant major.
All right now.
Okay? Those are the only two people.
All right.
And I am
now.
one of those with a star.
Yes,
So I
well,
have that entrance into
congratulations.
that door.
Oh, well,
And,
thank you so much for sharing with us. We thank y'all for joining us in the cafe today. Well, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did, because these are the things you cannot find in books.
Right.
These are the things you're not going to find in books. These are the things that you have to sit and have that one-on-one conversation with your fellow sisters about their
Yes.
experience. And we need it, because otherwise our history will get lost
Yes.
if these
True.
things are
Yeah.
not documented. So
Yeah.
I thank you again for your service, and I thank you for sharing with us. We love y'all. Thank y'all for joining us in the cafe. We'll see you next Thursday. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.
A cafe conversation. It's a cafe conversation in the ladies' room. 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 A cafe